Look at her arm. How does Caitlin Clark have just 8 non-technical free throws in her last 12 quarters of play? They seemingly hate her. Fresh footage from the Fevers win over the Chicago Sky is making the rounds right now, and it isn't highlighting a crossover, a logo 3, or a highlight reel dime. It's showing Caitlin Clark's forearm covered in what look like fingernail scratches, the kind of marks you get from someone grabbing, clawing, and holding on for dear life because they physically cannot keep up with her any other way.
Game that DiJonai Carrington had circled on her calendar and wanted the world to see happen tonight. And how did it turn out? Caitlin Clark had 37 points, 10 assists, 8 threes, and we got this lovely reaction. But I want to point out something that happened in the game. Some of the Chicago Sky, including DiJonai Carrington, to me, were looking for a fight this game. And Caitlin, instead of talking about it in the media, just did it with her basketball skills, and this is one of the plays that happened.
Indiana can regain the lead. Clark, another step back three. Yes! And a little bit of passion afterwards.
You love it. This is...
So DiJonai purposely runs into Clark, and then Clark just waves her off. Just waves her off. You can tell that Clark was just over that storyline and with that rivalry.
Look at her arm. How does Caitlin Clark have just 8 non-technical free throws in her last 12 quarters of play? They seemingly hate her. Fresh footage from the Fevers win over the Chicago Sky is making the rounds right now, and it isn't highlighting a crossover, a logo 3, or a highlight reel dime. It's showing Caitlin Clark's forearm covered in what look like fingernail scratches, the kind of marks you get from someone grabbing, clawing, and holding on for dear life because they physically cannot keep up with her any other way.
It took the ref 30 business days to call this foul on Caitlin Clark. But of course they want to demonize Clark and be like, she was overreacting. She's the most fouled player in the league. What are we doing? Why was the whistle not blown right here? Grabbing her, blow the fucking whistle, man. And then she had to do all this again to finally put her hand up. Like, what are we doing, man? Enrique's ugly ass falling down all over the place, foul call. You look at Asia Wilson, foul call, but it takes the ref looking direct. Look, why is her hand not up? Takes the ref 30 business days to call this. But let's demonize Clark. No, all these players fear Caitlin Clark. They fear for their lives when this woman is on the court and they have to hack her, tackle her. Odyssey Sims tackle Clark in this game and everything because she's the 11th best guard and we're going to guard her this way though. Like, you guys are fucking ridiculous, man. It's like the refs just want Clark to get beat up and hacked. These people just want her to just play through it. And it's like, it's not part of the game to get fouled and have to play through it.
Caitlin Clark has just 8 non-technical free throws in her last 12 quarters of play. 8 in 12 full quarters of basketball. That's not a typo, and it's not some small sample size excuse either. That's nearly 3 full games worth of basketball, where the most physically defended guard in the league has barely been sent to the free throw line at all.
I'm about to show you 10 missed calls last game. That Caitlin Clark got fouled and the ref never called it. There's a moving screen. She's moving all over the place. Hits her with the shoulder like always. Look at this. Fouls her, holding her, and fouls the crap out of her. No foul. Look at this. She got fouled the whole game. They didn't call this a foul. Look at this one. Like, her body's all over her. How is that not a foul? Look at this one. Cardosa swipes her once, twice, just tries to grab her. Can you imagine being fouled the entire game? Every time you hit half court, every time you dribble, every time you drive. Look at this. Sheldon clearly has her hand on Caitlin Clark's shoulder when she's shooting it. They even showed a replay. It's exactly where I thought it was. Watch this. Her arm is on Caitlin Clark's shoulder the whole.
Think about what that number actually means for a second, because it's easy to scroll past a stat like that without letting it sink in. Free throws exist in this sport because the rule book says a certain level of contact crosses the line into illegal. When a player who gets hit, grabbed, and shoved as much as Clark does is only getting to the line a handful of times across 12 straight quarters, that's not necessarily a sign she's suddenly playing cleaner basketball or drawing less contact than before. It's a sign the whistle has gone quiet on her specifically, right at the exact moment the physicality being thrown at her has actually ramped up. It genuinely seems like the harder these defenses play her, the less protection she gets back in return, which is close to the exact opposite of how officiating is supposed to function in any competitive sport.
Calling for this WNBA player to be suspended after she intentionally pokes Caitlin Clark in the eye. You can see here, she misses the ball with an open palm and then hones it into this little sharp, pointy hand and jabs it right into her eyeball. One more time, right in the eye. And believe it or not, she didn't even get a foul for this. It was so intense as well that as the game progressed, you could tell she was getting a black eye just from the hit. There is no doubt in my mind that what this WNBA player did was 100% intentional, and honestly, I think it should have a huge suspension as well.
Because let's be honest about what's actually happening on the floor right now, week after week. If you can't get in front of her, can't stay in front of her off the dribble, and can't contest her without fouling the conventional way, some players are turning to whatever's left in the toolbox. If they can't poke her in the eye and get away with it clean, and if a full-on tackle to the ground is too obvious for even a sympathetic official to ignore, the next option quietly becomes the fingernails. A quiet grab here, a scratch there, small enough that it doesn't draw a whistle in real time, but visible enough on replay the next morning that you start connecting a very uncomfortable set of dots. It isn't just defense anymore at that point. It starts looking like an attempt to wear her down, frustrate her into a mistake, or worse, actually injure her enough that she physically can't keep doing what she's doing to opposing teams every single night.
This wasn't called a foul. This wasn't called a flagrant foul. There was no whistle blown on this play. This play never went under review. This play has absolutely nothing to do with basketball. As you can see, the ball is all the way over there. This is just someone getting mauled. The WNBA is stupid and is not a serious organization.
And this is exactly where the stat about her free throws becomes so important, because it isn't just a number people are throwing around online to be dramatic or to farm engagement. Across the league, when you actually track hard fouls, tackles that never get whistled, off-ball holding, and contact away from the ball entirely, no player is absorbing more of it than Caitlin Clark while getting less protection in return. She takes hit after hit after hit that any neutral observer watching in real time would call a foul without hesitation, and then she gets up, jogs back on defense, and does it all over again the very next possession like nothing happened. There's a level of resilience in that which almost gets lost in the noise of the controversy surrounding it, because most players facing that level of uncalled physicality would start playing tentative, start avoiding contact, or start pulling back off the drive to protect themselves. She hasn't done any of that. If anything, she's been playing more aggressively into it, attacking the same spots on the floor where the grabbing happens most.
These are plays we've seen from DiJonai.
These are the plays. Look. Yanking her hair down. Oh, that's a basketball play, y'all. And tell me if you notice a common denominator. Look. Basketball play, look. Basketball play. I didn't know you can rip somebody's hair out. That's a basketball. Look. Ankle injury. That's a basketball play, y'all. Look, poke right in the eye. It's not this many basketball plays in the world. It's not this many coincidences in the world. She went up like this and came down like this and poked an eye. Knocked her all upside her head. Now she got CT. Like, this is what you call a track record. Look. Not even going for the ball. Like, come on.
But that's what DiJonai Carrington does.
And we know. And that's been part of the problem. Because we've been telling y'all, this is what she does and has a...
This isn't the first time DiJonai Carrington's name has come up in this exact conversation either. Fans have flagged her physicality with Clark before, going all the way back to a playoff series where a similar uncalled swipe near the face went viral for the exact same reason this new footage is going viral now. It keeps happening, it keeps getting brushed off in real time by the officiating crew on the floor, and it keeps only becoming a real conversation once someone slows the footage down after the fact and shows the world what actually happened. That delay between the live whistle and the internet's verdict is becoming its own pattern within the larger pattern, not before it, and not despite a lighter workload while it was actively happening game after game on national television with millions of people watching. Which brings us to the second half of this story. Because while all of this has been unfolding, while her arm is getting scratched up and the whistle keeps staying tucked away in the referee's pocket, Caitlin Clark has quietly been rewriting the record books in real time. Here's the tweet that's been going viral alongside the footage of her arm. And once you actually read the numbers, you understand exactly why this whole situation feels so absurd when you put the two side by side. Most 30-point, 10-assist games in WNBA history.
10 assist games in WNBA history. Caitlin Clark, 5. The rest of the WNBA history combined, 4.
Sit with that stat for a second, because it genuinely isn't close, and it isn't a stat that requires much interpretation. Every single 30-point, 10-assist game ever recorded by every other player across the entire history of the WNBA combined adds up to 4 total games. Caitlin Clark alone has 5. She has done by herself. In a fraction of the time some of these other careers have spanned across a decade or more than the entire rest of the league's history has managed to put together. That's not a hot streak over a couple of good weeks. That's not a lucky stretch against a run of weak competition on a favorable schedule. That's a level of two-way offensive dominance that this sport has genuinely never seen before at the point guard position. And it's been put up while she's absorbing contact that would make most players think twice before even attacking the paint at all.
Caitlin Clark now has more 30-point, 10-assist games in her career, with 5, than the rest of the WNBA has combined in league history. Let that sink in. I'm going to have a sip of coffee while that sinks in. Yeah. Yeah, by herself, she's got more 30-point, 10-assist games by herself than the entire league combined. Entire league history.
It also raises a fair question about consistency across the rest of the league. Plenty of guards in the WNBA play through contact every single night, and plenty of them get calls that Clark simply doesn't get in the same situations. That's not a knock on those players, most of whom are just playing hard, physical basketball the way the league has always rewarded. It's a question for the people holding the whistle, because if the standard for what counts as a foul changes depending on who's on the receiving end of the contact, that's not a small officiating inconsistency anymore. That's a fairness problem, and fairness problems in professional sports tend to get worse the longer they go unaddressed, not better.
So, look at this. This is where you're like, this is loser shit. Oh, I'm going to pretend to flop. DiJonai just shoved Caitlin. She literally just walked into Caitlin and shoved her. Caitlin dribbled the ball and she just shoved her. And she just goes that. Caitlin didn't even throw her head back. And then waits for Caitlin, like, starts shit talking, throws her head back. Caitlin doesn't see her, and then goes and does it again. Like, that is the most loser shit ever. That is the most loser shit ever. Like, and the worst part is that DiJonai checked into the game while Caitlin Clark was, while Caitlin was on the bench, and DiJonai started off really well. Really well, DiJonai started. As soon as Caitlin Clark, as soon as Caitlin Clark checks in the game, DiJonai suddenly is like, I don't care about basketball anymore. I don't care about basketball. The only thing that I care about is, can I go?
And that's really what makes this whole storyline so hard to ignore once you actually sit with it. This isn't a player who's struggling under the physicality and quietly falling apart under the weight of it. This is a player getting scratched, grabbed, tackled, and largely unwhistled for every bit of it. And instead of shrinking away from contact, she's producing the single greatest stretch of 30-point, 10-assist games this league has ever recorded in its history. Every time a defender decides the answer is to grab her arm instead of actually playing defense with their feet, she seems to respond by dropping another 30 and 10 the very next chance she gets on the floor. If the goal really was to frustrate her into a slump or to physically wear her down enough that the production eventually drops off, it hasn't worked. It hasn't even come close to working, and the numbers back that up every single week.
Now, it is no way y'all trying to talk about Caitlin Clark shooting 13 free throws. The same people that call Asia Special Whistle Wilson the GOAT, that shoots 50 million free throws a game. The same people that glaze Angel Reese, the free throw merchant that has to flop to get points because she can't shoot. Free throw merchant, but Clark got 13 free throws in a loss. But also, when Angel Reese gets a double-double and has a good game in a loss, it's glazed. But when Clark has a good game in a loss, they want to shit on it and do the opposite and be the goofies that they are, man. Goofy, man. Clark is the most fouled player in the league. She got the whistle that she deserved today versus the Dallas Wings, man. She should be shooting free throws like that every single game because people just hold on to her and try to foul her all the time because there ain't no...
That contrast really is the whole story here, and it's worth spelling out plainly one more time before wrapping this up. 8 non-technical free throws in 12 quarters while defenders scratch up her arm and get away with contact that would draw whistles against almost anyone else on the floor in that same league. And in that exact same stretch of time, she's putting together a historic run that the rest of the league combined across its entire existence hasn't matched. Those two facts sitting right next to each other should be enough on their own for the league office to take a hard look at the consistency of the officiating. Caitlin Clark still walks off the floor with the assists, still walks off with the points, and still ends the season holding a record that the rest of the WNBA combined simply cannot touch, no matter how many players they throw at her defensively. The marks on her arm might tell you how hard some players are trying to slow her down right now. The record book tells you in exact numbers how well that approach is actually working. And right now, the record book is not on their side, no matter how many nights they leave her covered in scratches.
Think that the referees are in on it, meaning like I think the referees potentially being directed by the commissioner are in on really screwing with this chick and really trying to, I don't know if run her out of the league or make her look stupid or what. Am I the only one that thinks this? She's on her 6th or 7th. I think at 8 you get suspended for a game. She picked up her 8th, but then, they quickly reversed it.
All she got to become is lesbian. They'll quit.
Well, but what if she doesn't want to be lesbian?
Well, then she's going to have to get run off.
There's also a bigger cost to all of this that doesn't show up in any box score, and it's worth naming directly. Every time a defender gets away with grabbing an arm hard enough to leave marks, it sends a signal to every other team in the league that this is an acceptable way to guard the best player in basketball right now. Coaches watch film too. If the tape shows that scratching and grabbing goes unpunished, other coaches will start drawing up defensive game plans built around exactly that kind of contact. Because why wouldn't they if it works and nobody blows the whistle? That's how a bad habit spreads across an entire league instead of staying isolated to one team or one player. And it's exactly why moments like this one deserve more attention than a single viral clip usually gets before everyone moves on to the next storyline.
Now, it is no way y'all trying to talk about Caitlin Clark shooting 13 free throws. The same people that call Asia Special Whistle Wilson the GOAT, that shoots 50 million free throws a game. The same people that glaze Angel Reese, the free throw merchant, that has to flop to get points because she can't shoot. Free throw merchant, but Clark got 13 free throws in a loss. But also, when Angel Reese gets a double-double and has a good game in a loss, it's glazed. But when Clark has a good game in a loss, they want to shit on it and do the opposite and be the goofies that they are, man. Goofy, man. Clark is the most fouled player in the league. She got the whistle that she deserved today versus the Dallas Wings, man. She should be shooting free throws like that every single game because people just hold on to her and try to foul her all the time because there ain't no...
I'm about to show you 10 missed calls last game. That Caitlin Clark got fouled and the ref never called it. There's a moving screen. She's moving all over the place. Hits her with the shoulder like always. Look at this. Fouls her, holding her, and fouls the crap out of her. No foul. Look at this. She got fouled the whole game. They didn't call this a foul. Look at this one. Like, her body's all over her. How is that not a foul? Look at this one. Cardosa swipes her once, twice, just tries to grab her. Can you imagine being fouled the entire game? Every time you hit half court, every time you dribble, every time you drive. Look at this. Sheldon clearly has her hand on Caitlin Clark's shoulder when she's shooting it. They even showed a replay. It's exactly where I thought it was. Watch this. Her arm is on Caitlin Clark's shoulder the whole